Trip, Gerald, thank you so much for inviting me here to do a crossover with you.
Of course, Tony Goldmark from Some Jerk with a Camera. What's ours is yours, and we'll do anything to piggyback off your internet fame.
You know, that's exactly the same thing I said to Doug Walker. Regrets. But I could have sworn there was someone of the lady persuasion in your elite group of show-tune snobbery. Where's, Emily?
Oh yeah, I told her we were going to review the spiritual successor to Mary Poppins. Then her eyes got real wide. She stared off in the distance for like 20 seconds and bolted upstairs without a word. Haven't seen her since.
Really, Gerald, do close your mouth. We are still not a codfish. Oh, Trip. Still inclined to giggle, I see.
Emily, are you turning turtle? Why are you dressed as Sherry Bobbins?
Oh, really, Tony? If we're going to be reviewing the sequel to Mary Poppins, I must look the part, mustn't I? Now, who wants to go on a rollicking magical adventure inside an antique bowl?
As much as I'd like to bowl with you, Emily, we are not reviewing Mary Poppins Returns.
So the Gerald said.
I said we're reviewing the spiritual successor to Mary Poppins.
That's right, the original cash grab for Poppins nostalgia, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
She's planning her Angela Lansbury cosplay now.
Ooh, I call David Tomlinson.
Should I be the bedknob or the broomstick?
That's something we all have to decide ourselves.
Stealing Focus! Greetings, Broadway babies!
I'm Emily.
I'm Trip.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm some jerk with a camera.
And welcome to Stealing Focus.
The show where we review TV and movie musicals, comparing them to their source material,
And rating them on their own merits.
to determine once and for all whether or not they live up to our lofty expectations as true aficionados of the Great White Way.
And I'm some jerk with a camera.
We'll be looking at the moments that are a standing O.
Yay!
A slow clap.
Meh.
Or Carrie the musical.
Boo! And I'm some jerk with a camera.
Alright! This is our friend Tony, creator and star of Some Jerk with a Camera, the show that reviews Disney theme parks and occasionally movies.
Yeah, making this a perfect opportunity for a crossover review show. Ain't that right, Tony?
That's right, Trip, because today we are reviewing the 1971 Disney movie musical, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
So, since you are the Disney aficionado, Tony, I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of the backstory of the film, if you don't mind.
Oh, well, I'm so unprepared. I wish you'd given me some advance notice. Okay. In the early 1960s, Walt Disney was working on an adaptation of Mary Poppins, but he had a notoriously contentious relationship with Mary Poppins author P.L. Travers. So during production, Disney acquired the children's book The Magic Bedknob by Mary Norton. With its similar themes and magical British protagonist, The Magic Bedknob was kind of a plan B should Poppins fall through. But Mary Poppins was released in 1964, winning Academy Awards, breaking new ground in animation, and becoming a beloved classic for generations. A few years later, the Poppins songwriting team of Richard and Robert Sherman came to Uncle Walt and pitched Bedknobs and Broomsticks, as it was now called, but finding it too similar to Poppins, Walt passed on the project. But then Walt dies in 1966, his brother Roy takes over, the studio really needs a hit, and suddenly Too Similar to Poppins doesn't sound so bad, and lo and behold, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks has the same director, producers, and screenwriters as Mary Poppins, not to mention a score by the Sherman Brothers, including songs they originally wrote for Poppins, like Beautiful Briny. And the leading man is Papa Banks himself, David Tomlinson.
The filmmakers originally offered Julie Andrews the role of Eglantine Price, but she turned it down, not wanting to play another Mary Poppins type. So then the studio offered the part to Angela Lansbury, who accepted. Ironically, Julie calls back the next day like, "Oh, I just read the script and maybe this could be fun." "Oh, all right, I'll do it."
Actually, Julie, you know we love you, but we just offered the part to Angela Lansbury.
Oh, well, yes, of course you have. Angela is a dear, a real treasure. So what if she's been copying my haircut for years? She's a pure delight.
So, in 1971, the same year Walt Disney World opened, Bedknobs and Broomsticks was released.
But does it capture that Poppins magic?
What's that got to do with my knob?
Let's find out.
This is Bedknobs and also Broomsticks.
To begin with, Angela Lansbury is simply perfect as the witch-in-training Eglantine Price. Her character starts off very detached and aloof, but grows goofier and bolder as the film goes on. Sure, she has her absent-minded moments and her stuffy British moments, but it's when Miss Price is casting magic spells in her extremely practical way that Lansbury is at her best.
You really feel like Miss Price has to be Hermione Granger's grandmother or something.
And Lansbury has great chemistry with her co-star, David Tomlinson, who does a complete 180 from his role as Mr. Banks. As Emilius Brown, Tomlinson is a fast-talking flim-flammer who can con himself out of any situation. A great pairing for the stuffy Miss Price.
He's more of a Ron Weasley type, I'd say.
And there are lots of great performances from the supporting actors, too, like Mrs. Hobday, the Bookman, and all the delightful little old men who make up the soldiers of the Old Home Guard.
Overall, Bedknobs and Broomsticks has a very Narnia meets Hogwarts meets Mary Poppins vibe. Besides all the witchcraft stuff, we haven't even gotten to the psychedelic acid trips they take on the magical flying bed.
And while not as revolutionary as Mary Poppins, the animated sequences are still impressive and quite fun to watch. Vulture paramedics? Come on, that's funny.
Yeah, there are actually quite a few really funny moments that are still gold.
I don't believe in giving animals ridiculous names. I call him Cosmic Creepers because that's the name he came with.
They even throw in some gallows humor, which is often unheard of in older Disney films.
I found the front door open. The house was deserted. Everyone has left the neighborhood.
Now, why should they do that?
This probably has something to do with it.
Speaking of something we haven't seen in a Disney movie before, Bedknobs and Broomsticks has Nazis.
Oh, so everyone who invades from Germany is a Nazi, huh?
So far, yeah. Bedknobs and Broomsticks takes place in a little seaside town in England called Pepperidge, just at the outset of World War II. The film's third act concerns a small exploratory mission of Nazis checking out the coastline for a possible command post. And for Nazis, they're surprisingly polite. So, they lock up Miss Price in the local museum, which is filled with suits of armor. So, using her magical spell for substitutionary locomotion,
We get the most bonkers, awesome thing I've ever seen in a musical. Suits of armor, fighting Nazis, led by Angela Lansbury, flying on a broom. This scene looks amazing and still holds up today due to the creative mix of practical and special effects.
The music of Bedknobs, though not as iconic as Mary Poppins, is still fun, catchy, and undeniably Sherman Brothers. The most poignant would be The Age of Not Believing, Miss Price's homage to those always troublesome tween years.
And in fact, The Age of Not Believing was kind of a metatext by the Sherman Brothers on what it was like to lose Walt. At some point in our lives, we all stop believing in magic, so we have to believe in ourselves instead. Boop.
well, the score is impressive, but it's not perfect. While I never turn my nose up at a Sherman Brothers score, the songs are really where you feel the Poppins DNA. I mean, every song in Bedknobs and Broomsticks has a Mary Poppins equivalent.
The Old Home Guard is Sister Suffragette. Both are songs that don't really tie into the plot, but come in early on to help build the world around our characters and set the stage for the time period.
The Beautiful Briny, which as we said was originally written for Poppins, is Jolly Holiday, a charming song for our two leads to perform while in an animated world of wonder.
Substitutionary locomotion is our supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, the trademark Sherman Brothers nonsense word song. But seriously, it's impossible to get Triguna Macoides Tricorum Satis D out of your head.
The Age of Not Believing is our Feed the Birds, a ballad that essentially contains the film's mission statement.
And finally, there's the disjointed Portobello Road sequence, which is clearly Chim Chim Cheree. The two songs don't have much in common plot-wise, but the melody is ridiculously similar, right down to the fact that they're both waltzes. I mean, you could sing them at the same time and not tell the difference. Observe. Portobello Road, Portobello Road, a street where the riches of ages are stowed.
Ooh, I gotta do a mashup.
Yeah, this sequence starts off as a lot of fun, but it just keeps going with awkward transitions between the dances. The movie just fades in and out between them, with most of the characters watching from the sidelines.
No Miss Lark walking Andrew through the park in this one.
Yeah, in fact, there are a lot of weird things in this movie that come out of nowhere or make no sense or just haven't aged well. Take, for example, Mr. Brown's song, Eglantine, which for the record is totally the life I lead from Mary Poppins, where he hits on Miss Price so aggressively she has to turn him into a rabbit. Silly rabbit, no means no.
Then later on, Mr. Brown is about to head back to London, and as he awaits the train at the station, he has hallucinations of Miss Price as a magician's assistant. This lasts for about 10 seconds and is the big revelatory/redemptive moment for the character. I mean, except for a few lines a couple of acts ago, this pretty much comes out of nowhere.
And when the characters are on the magical island of Naboombu watching animated anthropomorphic animals play soccer, nearly every single British character in this sequence calls it soccer. Not football, soccer. But they're British. Ugh, Uncle Tomlinson's.
And then there are the Rollins kids. Charlie, Carrie, and Paul. And boy oh boy do they suck. Well, Carrie doesn't. She's a really good actor. She even gives some amazing cry face at one point, but I mean, look at her compared to these little Laurence Oliviers.
She's proper cross now. Let's get away from here. Hang on, I'm having a bit of a think. Don't worry, Miss Price. No one's going to peach on you. Now you mention it, I could do with a bit of lolly. Lolly? What will you do? Turn me into a toad? Lovely, a toad with pink eyes.
Ugh, Charlie and Paul are the worst. Poor Carrie is over here trying to be grateful, make the best of things, give helpful suggestions. But no, her brothers and everyone in this movie is like, shut up, Carrie.
And talk about ungrateful. These kids are old enough to not freak out at the idea of washing their hands. Plus, they just survived the Blitz. Are they really going to be pissy over a hot meal even if the food isn't fried?
The youngest kid, Paul, can barely read his lines, and at times it's clear the director is feeding them to him, so he mostly comes across as bland or deadpan. But he does get, hands down, the most unintentionally hilarious line in the film.
What's that got to do with my knob?
I'm sorry.
It's funny because knob means penis. Finally, there's Charlie. Oh man, this kid must have failed his Artful Dodger audition because he's making Dick Van Dyke sound like Surrey and McKellen. But perhaps the most infuriating thing about Charlie is that in nearly every scene where Miss Price is about to set up a magical situation, he scoffs. She turned you into a rabbit on your second day with her. And then he's like, a fly in bed can't happen. An island of cartoon animals playing soccer? That's impossible. Completely sentient suits of armor? Whoa. Fake news.
Man, if Charlie was around today, he'd be the absolute worst Twitter troll SJW hating edgelord. Can you imagine?
A Lady Admiral running a spaceship into another spaceship at light speed can't be done, says I! Kathleen Kennedy is history's biggest monster! Hang on, females can't be Ghostbusters, it's genetically impossible! Hashtag never Bernie and hashtag Bernie or bust. Oh, that'll show 'em. Now let's see how many times I can downvote this Razor advert.
When you realize the world's imperfect, you can't deal with it, so you rebel. You're at the age of being an edgelord when you make everyone's life life hell.
You regurgitate moronic buzzwords, SJW and NPC. That's called the age of being an edgelord, shielded by anonymity.
You demand the head of Rian Johnson, and you're very sure there's a Snyder cut. Every guy's a beta flake of snow. Every girl's a filthy slut.
Tolerate the age of being an edgelord. Hide it all behind your username, until at last you grow the hell up and look back on this crap. You'll look back on this crap with shame.
You know, them Nazis fighting them suits of armor were very fine people.
So Bedknobs and Broomsticks was originally 140 minutes long, but Disney didn't like that. They wanted a clean 2 hours, so they cut 20 minutes from it, and it really shows.
Yeah, like, did you know that Roddy McDowall was in this movie? Did ya? No? Don't believe me? Go check the credits. Yeah, he has third billing. In the original cut, there was this whole subplot about the local clergyman wanting to marry Miss Price for her house or something. But in the cinematic cut, he gets one scene in the beginning where he has exactly 3 lines and some doofy reaction faces later. That's it.
Also lost on the cutting room floor is the Rollins children's entire backstory. Their parents are dead, by the way, and Mr. Brown's intensely funny intro song with a flair.
And remember how we mentioned the Portobello Road sequence feels disjointed? That's because it was edited down. Believe it or not, it was even longer in the original cut.
This cut and paste job made for some very fragmented storytelling, but luckily the deleted scenes were added back in for a restored cut in 1996. So if you can track down the original DVD release of this movie from 2001, you can watch it as the filmmakers intended. Kinda. See, unfortunately, a lot of the original audio was lost to the ages, and Tomlinson was no longer in good enough health to work at the time, so they had to hire voice actor Jeff Bennett to do ADR, and boy did he give it a good try. No wonder critical response was so mixed when this first came out.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't blame everything on the editing, though. Some of the script is just lazy. The Isle of Naboombu plot device is absolutely the most contrived. It turns out Mr. Brown is squatting in an abandoned home in London, where young Paul finds a book in the nursery about the magical isle. And it just so happens this is also the place Miss Price needs to go to find the Star of Astaroth, which contains the magic spell she needs for substitutionary locomotion. Not only that, but after they lose the magic star, after an extremely long treasure hunt, it turns out the spell was in the book the whole time. Is Emilius Brown actually a wizard? Did the house belong to Astaroth himself? Nope. Just a house with the kid's book that happens to be true. It's all just a coincidence.
Yeah, and speaking of the island, while the beautiful briny is a lovely and creative sequence, the animal football game leaves much to be desired, especially in a post-Poppins world. Don't forget, it's 1971, Walt is dead, and we're definitely in the era of reused animation over here.
It's so odd in a film where the real-life adult actors are hilarious and understated, and yet they couldn't manage to get their voice actor A-game. What, so they had a big dumb bear character but couldn't get Phil Harris?
I can't tell you how I appreciate this. For some reason, we have great difficulty finding...
Why does the Lion King have a pirate voice?
There be one thing we like, it's volunteers.
Why is it so echoey? He literally says matey multiple times. How did this happen?
But here is the laziness that angers me the most.
That mean you ain't gonna be a witch no more? Never.
No, Paul. I realized some time ago that I could never be a proper witch.
When was that? Was it that first magic moment when you laid eyes on me?
No, it was the day my poisoned dragon's liver arrived. I knew then that anyone who felt the way I did about poisoned dragon's liver had no business being a witch.
Wait, what? Miss Price, you fought tooth and nail throughout the whole movie to become a witch. You had all the power, and you led an army against the Nazis, but nope. At the end, she just gives up witching and leaves the fighting up to the manfolk. Yup, Eglantine had a damn good thing going all by herself in that house, accruing power, living life deliciously. But now, her incompetent swindler of a boyfriend goes off to fight with the old man brigade, and she's at home with the damn wiener kids.
Whoa.
I know. She couldn't keep fighting them because then it was like, why didn't she just keep fighting the Nazis forever and help win the war altogether? And then that also leads to an existential question about how much does the wizarding world get involved in human affairs. But you know what? They should have tried.
What's that got to do with my knob? Knob means penis.
What's that got to do with my knob?
So, Tony, what's the final word on bed knobs and broomsticks?
Well, if this sort of thing is your particular jam, and I know it's mine, it's pretty damn good. Memorable performances, innovative filmmaking techniques, and just plain good old-fashioned charm overflowing out of just about every frame. The specific flavor of charm that only classic Disney could really pull off. There's lots to love here.
Honestly, if you look at the movie like a bunch of wacky episodes rather than a coherent story, then you might enjoy yourself a little more.
And when you watch it, be sure to find the fully restored version. It may not fix the laziness, but it does help with some of the plot holes. And poor Roddy McDowell.
And at the very least, we'll always have this.
What's that got to do with my knob?
Is it me, or does it sound kind of like an AC/DC song?
Uh-oh, don't tell Roger that.
Too late.
What's this got to do with my knob? 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 Oh, yeah!
It's a headache now.
Thanks for watching our review of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah, be sure to subscribe and check back for a new analysis of the best and worst musicals.
And if you like what you see, leave some comments below. Tell us what musicals you'd like us to review.
And be sure to check me out on my channel, youtube.com/Tony Goldmark.
I gotta say, I'm still a little disappointed that Angela Lansbury didn't get to fight more Nazis. I wonder what that would have looked like.
My name is Lieutenant Angela Lansbury, and I need me 8 suits of armor. 8 British medieval suits of armor. We're gonna be dropped into France. Well, you'll drop, I'll fly in on a broom. And once we're in enemy territory, we're gonna be doing one thing and one thing only. Killing Nazis. We will get medieval on the Germans. They will see the evidence of our cruelty in the clean hands we make them wash before supper, in the stewed nettles we force feed them, and in the magical little bunny rabbits we turn them into for some reason. Each and every knight under my command owes me 100 stars of Astoroth, and I want my stars. Dragoon and McCoy, is Jacorum Sadis, D?
Yes, ma'am!
Nein, 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 nein! Sie wollen beweisen, dass Sie aus Fleisch und Blut sind. Dann bringen Sie sie mir! Ich werde Sie nackt an Ihren Füßen am Eiffelturm aufhängen und Ihre Leichen in die Kanalisation werfen lassen, dass die Ratten von Paris sich an Ihnen mästen. In Ihrem angstgetriebenen Wahn verbreiten. Der meine Männer mit einem Prügel totschlägt, den man Bärenjude nennt.
die nach Belieben erscheinen und verschwinden können.
Now I'm gonna ask you one last time. Now, if you've heard of my army of knights, you've probably heard of our newest recruit, the Nightmare. So if you don't tell me what I need to know, I'm calling the Nightmare.
Fuck you! And your stewed nettles!
Nightmare! Got us a rabbit here who wants to die for country. Oblige him. Guess who's back, bitches?
Mary Poppins returns again! Because we'll make a cinematic universe out of anything.